Today, let's go over some basic serger maintenance. Welcome, I do sewing and DIY related content, and today we are going to be going over some basic serger maintenance tips. So the way that I do maintenance on my serger is normally after a really big project, I will go through and clean off parts of it, and today's tips are all going to be using household items you may already have, including like using Q-tips as well as using Windex or some sort of glass cleaner. And then I will also be showing you how I do oil my serger when I need to do that. This video is not going to be getting into changing needles or changing the blade on it. It's really just going to be a lot of, like figuring out how you can really get in there, clean it, and using items you already have around your house. You may also have some tweezers that can help you too. So the first step when I am cleaning my serger, this is normally after any really large big project, is I get some glass cleaner and I will actually clean the entire outside of my serger with it. So a lot of the times when I am serging material, all that lint gets all over my serger machine. So I just go through and kind of wipe it off. You can see here it's blue as I just recently made a pair of pants. So I just wipe the entire thing down to make sure there's no lint on the outside. I actually got this tip from another sewing video and I think it is so helpful. I'll include a link to that video below. Another item that I will do is I will fold like the napkin with the glass cleaner on it very, very thinly and just move it up and down where the threads are going so that it kind of helps clean that area. Now some fabrics are messier than others, so really how often you have to do this depends on what type of fabrics you're using. The fabric I just most recently used was incredibly messy, so that's why I'm doing this whole video now to kind of walk you through my process in case you are interested in some serger maintenance tips as well. After I clean the outside, I do go ahead and clean everything on the inside, including where that little drawer popped open, and then I just wipe all of this down, still using that napkin at first, or you could use a paper towel as well. So now when it comes time to the actual inside portion of my serger, you can see here that, like the napkin kind of gets some of that lint from the inside, but there are still lots of nooks and crannies, and this is where we'll be using our Q-tip later to help clean a lot of this out. But for right now, I'm going to continue on using the napkin with that glass cleaner and just rubbing things down very, very carefully so I make sure that all of the lint that I can see on the outside that I can easily get to is gone. I do not use an air blower or I don't have any type of little vacuum for this. I just use, the napkin as well as the Q-tip, as the Q-tip will then allow you to get into all those really tiny places. And I'll show you a better view of using that Q-tip in a second for like how you can go in and you can get all the lint out. So here is the inside of my serger. I just use the Q-tip very carefully, rub everything off, so you can see I had a big piece of fabric that was actually stuck in there come out. And I just do this multiple times, so I make sure that all of that lint's coming off, getting it nice and clean. And then this will allow me to have a really good spot so that I can add more oil to it if needed. Due to how a serger is set up, it has a lot of metal on metal parts, and that's where the oil comes into play. Now when you have all this lint that's like building up in your sewing machine, that lint is actually essentially eating up the oil that's already there, and that's why when you clean off all the lint, you then want to go back through and add oil to it so that this helps your serger, stay in its tip-top shape and is doing the best that it can. It can take a while to clean all of this out, but I find that, the more that you get the lint out, the more that you keep it clean, the better that your serger is going to end up running. And then the way that I do it is I'll do, like this very large cleaning, maybe about like once every 3 months. I think it really depends on the number of projects you use though. And then I'll do smaller little cleanings, every time after I use it. So this is currently what our serger looks like. It's looking really clean. This was all the stuff that came out of it from doing the cleaning, and all the lint that I can see is gone. I've really gotten in there to make sure that like in the nooks and crannies it's gone. So now it's time to add some oil. So basically any areas where you have a metal on metal part that's rubbing together, that's where we want to add the oil. So I got this oil off Amazon. I think it was like for $5. Most of the time when you get like a brand new serger, it will come with a little bit of oil for you. But if you go through that, if you lose it all, you can get in other places. So I'm just going to be using the Singer sewing machine oil, essentially just an all-purpose oil. And it has that nice long nose applicator to make it easier to get into your serger. So I have my serger open right now. You can see that there's like a couple spots where I definitely know I'm going to be adding the oil. So at the top right there, then at the bottom, like where that little wheel is, I'm going to be putting it there as well. And then any other spots that you see along the way that look like, like you have that metal touching the metal, definitely be sure to add it there, since the lint probably got rid of a lot of the oil that was already on that area. So now here is my oil. I will say this was actually a brand new bottle and it was quite difficult to open. So just to give you a little fair warning that it isn't the easiest thing to open. It is just like a pull top, and then once you get it open, you do need to puncture the top of it. So I just used a pin, put a little hole in it, and this worked pretty well. I didn't have too many issues. Just had to set it down, put a little hole into the top of the oil container, and then this also made it a lot easier for adding the oil to the serger, as I didn't have like a giant hole that oil was getting everywhere. And then once I had it open, I just took my oil and put it on the little spots where I saw that there was like a metal on metal location, and added a little bit oil on top. So you can see I added some right here is where I'm going to be adding some, and then I added some on that little rod as well, so that hopefully it will keep the machine running nice and smooth. And then the way that you can kind of see if it's there, if you want to like move it around at all, I did then get a Q-tip and just kind of move it so that it's really going all over the area and not just in one spot. So this is just some serger maintenance tips that I do. I know when I first got my serger, everyone talked about how important maintenance was, but I couldn't really find anything easily on what that maintenance included. So I hope this helps you. If you have any other ideas, be sure to leave them in the comments and let me know what you want to see next. Thanks for watching.